Hi everyone, it's me. So today we are going to talk about 9 weird British habits that myself as a foreigner living in England picked up. Now, as a Canadian, I lived in England, specifically in Kent, in southeast England, for over 4 years. So it only seems natural that I would absorb some of that weird British quirks. And I have. So I thought today, on this very dark and stormy day, I would share 9 British quirks that I have noticed in myself now from living in England. So without further ado, let's go. Now, number 1, these are not in order. They're never in order. They're just in order of when I thought of them. Number 1 is saying Hiya as a greeting. I talk about this one a lot, and it really is part of my persona now. A delivery guy just walked up the driveway and he absolutely saw me filming this. That's cool. Let's try that again. So as a Canadian, I now say Hiya as my go-to greeting, which is something that you hear a lot in Kent, at least. It's a cute thing. It's like just a nice way of greeting somebody. I really like it. I picked it up almost immediately and now it is my automatic response. Even here, living in Ontario right now, when I go for a run and I pass somebody, I say Hiya and it just comes out. So this is the way it is. The second weird British habit that I've picked up on that I probably shouldn't have picked up on, but it's too late now, is going for a country walk. You know, there's something about going on a beautiful country walk, especially in Kent, and you know, there's just beautiful landscape, and then of course, at the end of your country walk, you go to a pub. Because obviously. So a fairly, can I say common pastime? Is that too much? Or a common British habit? I'm gonna say it because this is my YouTube channel and I can do whatever I want. A common British habit would be to go on a country walk and stop off at a pub. Maybe you just have a pint. For me, it would be cider. Maybe you just have a Diet Coke, but you just want to sit down and relax and be in a beautiful place. Maybe you specifically stop off to have lunch. I remember my 2 girlfriends and I, we did a huge hike. Maybe it wasn't that big, but I remember it was really, really hot. And we specifically stopped off at a pub halfway. We marked it out. So we'd stop there. We had this beautiful roast lunch. Fabulous. Absolutely wonderful. And then we walked it off on our way back home. So now as a Canadian, that's just something that feels natural. Unfortunately, we don't have too many pubs here in Ontario, at least not the pubs that I am looking for. So that feels a bit weird, but I guess with the whole lockdown, I can't even go to one anyway. So what does it matter? Now, related to number 3, number 4, are we on number 4? What are we on? Number 3. God. So number 3, relating to stopping off at a pub, the other British habit that I've picked up is perhaps you have too many pints at your local pub. We've all been there, all right? Especially in the summertime. Okay, I'm sorry. And you think, ooh, I could really go for a Chinese. So one of the common things in the UK, I would say is common, I'm gonna say it's common, is drinking too much and then getting a kebab. And I know everybody's gonna make fun of how I say that, kebab. For me though, I could take or leave a kebab, I don't really care. But a Chinese, yes. There's a truck outside. Why even bother filming? Don't they know I'm trying to do something? So for me, one of the weird British habits that I picked up on is when I drink too much and then I order a Chinese, okay? It's just the way that it is, all right? Another side note, a vocabulary side note, if anybody is at all interested. In Canada, we would typically say Chinese food. So we'd say, do you want to get Chinese food tonight? Or that sort of phrasing. But I found in the UK, a lot of people will just be like, I really fancy a Chinese. A Chinese. Do you want to get Chinese tonight? So just like subtle differences. Does it matter? No. Will this be relevant to you? Probably not. It's just something that I noticed. And now I am hungry for a Chinese. Number 4, the 4th weird British habit that I've picked up on as a foreigner who lived in England. I have bags for life and carrier bags literally coming out of my ears. And guess what? I always forget to bring them. Another fun fact, can you call it fun? Probably not. Here in Canada, we would typically call them grocery bags or a reusable bag or a plastic bag, but those types of names for them. Where I found in the UK, you guys tend to say carrier bags, which kind of makes sense because you're using them to carry things. I just thought it was really cute. Or you can get bags for life, which are specific bags that are reusable and grocery stores and things will replace them, like if they get damaged. So bags for life, carrier bags, I have tons of them. Let me tell you, do I ever remember to bring them? No, I don't. So now I just have a collection. Hi, my name's Alanna, and I am the thing behind Adventures in Naps. Hello. Did you know I also post content on Patreon? That's right. If you watch my Patreon, you can see funny content like this. So this is the actual painting, right? It's pretty nice. This is my painting. Equally nice. Just head over to Adventures in Apps on Patreon. It directly supports this channel. So if you enjoy my videos and you want to help support me while also getting some bonuses and like extra little perks, it really does mean a lot for your support on Patreon too. That's the end of this plug. The 5th weird British habit that I now have as a Canadian is driving around, I will always wave to a car. If they let me pass, or if they let me in a queue, or they let me out of a street or whatever, the typical British thing I think would be to like wave your hand at them, and now I do that all the time. I'm waving hands at everybody. Another one that I noticed, sometimes people will flash their lights, which is, I mean, you're not supposed to do it, but we all know people do it anyway. So if somebody were to let you out of a street or what have you, or let you pass something, whatever, I wave my hand. But if you were in like the dark, if it was nighttime and they wouldn't be able to see that, some people will flash their lights, or if they want to indicate to you like, you go, I'll let you out, they'll flash their lights so the other car can see them. I don't do that too much just because, I don't know, I always feel like a little bit bad about flashing my lights at people because it really hurts your eyes. But I definitely do the wave, the British thank you for letting me out wave, all the time now, because it's just a part of the weird habits that I already do. It's just another one now. My 6th weird British habit that I now have is craving Yorkshire puddings. Like right now. Sometimes I wake up and I think, ooh, could really go for a Yorkshire pudding. Thankfully, the ingredients to make Yorkshires are so simple, like so straightforward. You pretty much already have the ingredients anyway. So I've actually made them here in Ontario while I'm here a couple of times. Sometimes they turn out, sometimes they don't. That's just the roll of the dice with Yorkshires. But I definitely find now that I crave that kind of stuff. I crave foods that I would buy in England that I can't get here. It's just the way of life, unfortunately. But definitely Yorkshires, yes please. Now the 7th weird British habit that I've picked up on is adding X's to messages. Now this one is strange, and any foreigners watching, hopefully you can relate, but let's have a little bit of a story time. Gather round and get comfortable. So when I first moved to England, I would get messages from people at work, or I had a woman who used to come and clean the house, just messages from friendly people that I knew, and they would usually end them with an X or like a double X, and I did not understand what that meant. In North America, when you send an X to somebody, it is flirty. Like, you don't do that. You might send it to your boyfriend or girlfriend, or maybe somebody who you want to be your boyfriend or girlfriend, but you don't just send them just as friendly little sign-offs. So in England, I was really confused because I'm getting these X's from people and it feels very personal and very like intimate, but in the UK they're used much more freely, you know, and it tends to be from like a woman to a woman typically. You don't really get a lot of X's from guys unless, you know, it's flirty. But that doesn't mean it doesn't happen. So I mean, I'm just saying, if you get an X in a text message in England, don't freak out just yet. They might just be being friendly. It's kind of hard to tell sometimes. But I now notice now, as a Canadian, that I will go to add an X in a message. Of course, I try not to send those to Canadians because I know that that will be very confusing and I don't really want to have that conversation. But I try to keep it to messages to my friends and family in England because at least they understand what it is and it does come naturally when messaging them. But I really try not to do it with Canadians because it's not a thing here. So just a little story time here on Adventures in Naps. Hope you enjoyed. The 8th British habit that I've picked up on is queuing for everything. Now, in Canada, we are not savages. We line up for things, absolutely. But the Brits take queuing to just the next level. So I think of maybe like at a bus stop. Here in Canada, I don't think people would necessarily line up at that stop, but people would know roughly, you know, when they arrived and who should get on before them. You know, there is some sort of organized system. But I find in England, if you're at a bus stop, people will queue. They will get in line, they will stand in the line, in the queue, and it's all very organized and it's a very organized system. So I do notice now as a Canadian that I will queue for things, whether I kind of need to or not. It's just like, it's just in there, you just do it. It's just, here I am, I'm in the queue. Now I've talked about it before, but just we're getting all sorts of vocabulary in this video, but in North America we call them lines. So you line up or you get in line. That kind of idea, whereas in the UK you guys will say queue, so you join the queue, you get in the queue, you do not jump the queue unless you want to be murdered, just saying. So just a little difference. We both love queuing or lining up or whatever you want to call it, both in Canada and the UK, but I do find now that I definitely queue for anything. Nothing feels better than joining a queue. Am I right or am I right? Now, the 9th and final weird British habit that I've picked up as a foreigner is buying rounds at a pub. It feels natural now. It seems strange if I don't do it. So it's just something that I do now. So definitely when's the last time I've been out? Months. Months. You're probably in the same boat. When was the last time you were at a pub? Months. But back when I could go to the pub, buying rounds just is normal. The only time I might not do it if maybe, you know, I'm just gonna have one drink, I'm just gonna buy my one drink because then I gotta head out. But if you are staying someplace for a long time with friends, it's just a natural thing to buy rounds for each other and just look after each other. You know, getting absolutely pissed in a pub and then getting a Chinese. Oh, remember when days were simpler? Now I hope one day I might be able to go out here in Ontario. I wouldn't necessarily go to a pub because I don't actually know any pubs near my home, but I do know bars and restaurants. And so if I were going out to drink with friends, specifically to drink, we're not like having a meal with it, we're just going to drink, it would be natural to buy a round for each other. Someday soon, maybe, possibly. Probably not. Now, a couple weird British habits that I haven't yet absorbed. The first one that comes to mind is being obsessed with tea. You guys are, you know it, you're obsessed. It's kind of uncomfortable. I don't know what to say about it, it's just a bit weird. So I haven't been bitten by the tea bug yet. I personally am a coffee person, but if I go to a friend's house, I would more than happily have a cup of tea. It's very soothing. I absolutely get that. It's very soothing. It's very comforting, but I haven't been converted to the tea side yet. If there's biscuits, yes, please, I'd love a tea because I'm gonna eat a bunch of biscuits. But my go-to would be the coffee side. So I haven't been converted to tea yet, but who knows? The other thing that comes up a lot in these types of videos or lists is that the Brits love to over apologize and say sorry and apologize for things that might not even be their fault. And luckily, Canadians are already the same. So Canadians are overwhelmed with the crushing sense that we have done somebody wrong. So we always apologize. I've apologized to doors that I've run into. I've apologized to a mannequin that I bumped into. I've apologized to things that are not alive. And that is just fairly common with Canadians. So luckily, the Brits and Canadians share their love of over apologizing. So that's not something that I picked up from the UK. That's something that I've already had. The other thing that a couple people mentioned, so how do I explain this? A couple people have commented that I have a British sense of humor and a British sense of sarcasm, which I don't agree with, you guys. Guess what? Let me blow your minds. I already had this. So I consider my humor and my sarcasm to be Canadian. I've always been this way. Did you guys know Canadians were funny? I bet you didn't, but now you do. So one of the habits I did not pick up on in the UK is my sense of humor or my sarcasm. I already had that. Thank you, Canada. So just some things to keep in mind, I guess. Canadians are cool. We apologize and we're funny. And other things, I'm sure. So those are 9 weird British habits that I've picked up since living in England. Hopefully I will be back very shortly. But for any other Brits maybe watching, are there things that you've noticed about watching my videos that maybe you think are British and I missed out? Or maybe do you have other favorite British habits that you think the world needs to have? So that's the end of the video. 9 weird British habits. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you guys are keeping safe and sane. Is that possible to be both at once? I hope so. I hope you guys are doing okay. I'm still here in Ontario for people who watch me each week. I'm still here. I'm still washing my hands. And I'm still just keep on keeping on. I do just want to say a huge thank you to everyone who has been supporting me here on Adventures in Naps. My last few videos have done really well, which is really exciting. So I really appreciate everyone who subscribes, who gives a video a thumbs up, who leaves a nice comment, all that kind of stuff. I really do appreciate it. So thank you so much. And I hope you have a lovely day. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, bye!